So some of you may not know who I am, and I just wanted to make sure that you know how to get a hold of me after the event if you need anything at all. We are here to help every single one of you to develop and to grow and to move into the next level of leadership. And when I say leadership, it doesn't mean that you have to be a boss. It doesn't mean that you have to be a supervisor. It means that as a woman, as a person in this community, that you are living your dream and that you are using all of your skills and your talents to get to the next level, to create the life that you want. So I already told them about the air conditioner. I see some of you like, okay, it's supposed to be being adjusted right now. So think warm thoughts right now. So here's my email address. That's my personal email address. That's our office number. If you need anything from after this event, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us to be able to help you to move forward. That is the whole intention of this event. So let me tell you, so I'm going to put on a few slides. You can call the office to get these PowerPoint slides from any of the speakers. We will send them to you. Or you can take pictures with your phone. Some of these slides might be something that you're interested in. So feel free to call our office to get the slides or take pictures with your phone. So I wanted to share with you this concept of radiant leadership and what it means to me and why I decided on this theme for this year. Well, think about it. When you see a woman that's coming to you, she's walking down the hall and her face is lit up. There's light in her eyes. She walks with a little bit of a bounce. You know what I'm talking about? You know women like that? They feel, you feel from them happiness. You feel from them joy. You feel from them a woman who has suffered, no doubt, with whatever challenges we all have in our lives, but yet there is an optimism, there is a sense of hope that things can go right, even though they've gone wrong. And maybe you're sitting with somebody like that right now. But the idea of radiant leadership to me is about women living in their full potential, using the skills and the talents that God has given us to bring back into the world to make it a better place. I'll never forget the time I was doing a workshop many years ago when I first started, and this is my 31st year in business. I was doing a workshop through the Workforce Board. It was actually called the Private Industry Council back then. And my job was helping women who were on welfare to help them to move forward to get jobs in their lives. And so I had a class, and it was at the Kennedy housing projects down in the Lower Valley. And so my job was to help them to feel good about themselves, to have some self-esteem and some confidence. And I kept asking the question, I said, well, what are you good at? And what are you good at? And one lady kept telling me, she says, pues nada, señora, nada. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And she says, well, in Spanish, she tells me, she says, pues tengo siete hijos. I have 7 children. And that's what I do. I said, well, that's a lot. Because you're doing it by yourself? She goes, yes. I said, okay, so do they all go to school? She goes, yes. Well, that's an accomplishment. She goes, no, my kids do that. I said, well, somehow you're able to provide for them, right? She goes, yeah, with the help of the government, I need to get a job. I said, okay. So she just wouldn't get on to something that she was proud of for herself. And so I looked at her and I said, do you cook at home? And she looked at me like, yeah, like doesn't everybody? And I said, so what do you make? What do you cook? And she said, hago guisado con tortillas. And I looked at her and I said, do you make homemade tortillas? And she said, yes. And I said, well, I don't know how to make homemade tortillas. And she looked at me, she says, you don't know how to make homemade tortillas? And I said, no. And I said, do you make really good homemade tortillas? And she said, yes. She said, seguro que hell yes. And I said, so then you need to own that you make the best tortillas in the world. And she goes, I do. Yo sí, es cierto, señora. And she stood up, and she was this tiny little thing, and she was very humble, but she looked and she says, yo hago las mejores tortillas del mundo. I make the best tortillas in the world. And she walked out of there a radiant woman because she took in that glory for herself, that she did something good. I think that women, am I on, Mike? What happened, Heriberto? Am I on? There, okay. Am I on again? All right. I think every woman needs to know that she's good for something and some things. And you need to own it. You need to own it. There are so many things in our world today that are attacking our women. Right? We need to fill each other's cup to remind ourselves that there are so many things that we do. I know my husband sometimes looks at me and he goes, how the hell do you do everything? Because we multitask, right? We're doing it so naturally, we don't even give ourselves credit for all of that. That you're able to put up with somebody's mood at work. That's something that, right? My poor Alyssa, she's not in the room right now, but you'll meet her. She's my Wonder Woman. During conference, I get to stress. I stress for the two of us, and she knows how to be there for me and be there with such grace that says it's going to be okay. So there's so many things that women are doing in our world that we are not getting credit for, that we need to do that for ourselves, but do it for each other. So to me, radiant leadership is about being yourself, completely yourself. And what I love doing in the world the work that I do the past 31 years is helping women and helping men is to step into what is it that you've wanted to do all your life but have been afraid to, that you're held back by your fear. I love helping people take a step into the water to say, okay, this is what I really want to do with my life. So that's what a radiant woman to me is, a woman on purpose. It's like that song Alicia Keys has, this girl is on fire, right? We're a woman with purpose is on fire, and she doesn't allow a whole lot to get in her way. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is my concept of radiant leadership. The other part here too is that women who are radiant leaders support other women. I'm going to repeat that again. Women who are radiant support other women. And one of the things that I believe we need to learn to do is that when one of us is messing up, go tell her to her face. Don't talk behind her back. You walk up and you have courage. That's why I started off with Joanne's presentation. It takes courage to walk up to one of your co-workers, maybe your family member, maybe even your mother. I had to confront my mom and my dad when they were still alive. And to say, this is not something that I approve of, this is something that I would want to give you some feedback on, right? But to be direct to the source, because that's how we're going to help each other. Now, if they don't want to take your advice, because that's happened to me sometimes, it's like, okay, well, what can you do at that point? But at least you've given that feedback. But you're there to support that woman as she moves forward in her personal life and in her career. Let me see what else. All right, so I covered all these points here. So let's talk about living a life with purpose. And so how many of you have a personal mission statement written? Okay, I have 1, 2, 3 hands, maybe 4 hands. Okay, a mission statement declares who I am, what I stand for, and who am I here to serve. I'm going to repeat that again. A mission statement states in a written format who I am, what I stand for, and who am I here to serve. Okay, companies have mission statements. School districts. I forgot to mention Cañutillo School District. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Where's Cañutillo? All right, Cañutillo. So everybody has a mission statement at work. Now, they don't really do a whole lot with them, but a mission statement is supposed to declare to the world, this is who we are. How many of you know that your company has a mission statement? Okay? So the same thing applies to you personally, is a mission statement for yourself. Now, I know with every cell in my body that a mission statement is going to make the biggest difference in your life. Because the process of making a mission statement isn't easy. Okay, like Joanne said, courageous leadership is not easy, right? But it is so worth the effort. So I wanted to share with you something personal about how powerful a mission statement can be. So I've not shared a whole lot in the conferences, but I've recently, maybe some of you have also had some losses in your lives. So my son passed away in 2019. He died of cancer. He actually committed suicide because he could not deal with the pain and didn't want to drag it out. Then we had that massacre in El Paso. How many of you took that hard? Yeah. It still hurts, doesn't it? Yeah. Then we got COVID. Shut down. I couldn't do any work. I had to learn really quick how to use Zoom. And thank God he sent me an angel, and I found an angel in Canada, would you believe? And she taught me how to do Zoom so that I could do my speeches on Zoom and do my coaching, etc. So that was helpful. But then my grandson passed away last year, in 2021. My grandson was born with cerebral palsy, and so he could not walk and he could not talk. And this one morning, the day before the insurrection that we had last year, he was at an adult daycare, and he had a donut, and the donut got stuck, and they could not revive him. So that's a lot of loss. That's a lot of hurt. And I know that I'm not the only one. And so when we have the situations that we've all had, I can't tell you how many people have told me during COVID, I feel so helpless. I feel so hopeless. And even now, we're still getting on our feet again, right? And there's people that some days tell me, you know what, Aliana, I just don't have it in me anymore. That's why we have all these quiet quitting, great resignation, all sorts of stuff happening, because we're all struggling. I had those days. I remember one day going out into the backyard when we were in lockdown, and I thought, what the hell? I didn't come to this point in my life to be stuck in the backyard. I thought, what are you doing, God? You know, what is all this about? And there was this kind of hopelessness that I was feeling. And what picked me back up again was my sense of purpose, my sense of mission. When you know why you are here, because you're not born to be nothing. You know that, right? You are born to be mighty. You are born to be radiant. You are born to make other people happy, to heal other people with whatever gift and talent that you have been blessed with. Every single human being has that. But it is your job to figure out what it is and then to use it. Now, my great-grandmother was the biggest teacher to me of this idea of purpose. My great-grandmother came from Chihuahua. And she was in her 30s when she came over, and she was a maid. She was a housekeeper. And she would tell me, she says, mijita, yo no soy criada, yo hago hogar. Mijita, I'm not a maid, I create home. So she didn't have an education, she didn't have a big corporate job, she didn't change the whole world in her mind, right? But she changed mine. Because she was a model of taking pride in what she did and understanding that how did she bless people? By walking into their homes and creating a place of home, not just cleaning the house. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's about finding that connection with what you do and how it serves other people. And others might not tell you. Others might not tell you, but you find that purpose. And so today I wanted to encourage you with everything I have in my heart to please start writing your mission statement. And if you need help with that, we're going to offer a retreat. I have handouts. I have all sorts of help that you possibly use to help you to write a mission statement. And if you Google it, you'll find a lot of stuff on the internet about writing a mission statement, because they are that powerful. So the other thing is, I wanted to share this trip I had. I was hired by the embassy in Bolivia. Well, actually in the U.S. It was the U.S. Embassy in Bolivia to give presentations throughout the country back in 2010. 2010, I flew to Bolivia, and as I'm flying into this country, it's a mountainous area, so I'm actually flying like kind of into this mountain canyon. It was really, I was like, oh my God, are we gonna make it? So I get there, and first of all, the altitude is very challenging. So they had me take one day off to get kind of settled. There was medication I had to take. I couldn't wear my contacts. They had to give me oxygen because that's how high the altitude is in Bolivia. So once I got situated as best as I could, I started to give my presentations to the women in Bolivia. The first round was to all the female police officers in La Paz. And so there was a new president at that time, very controversial guy, Evo Morales. But he made good on his promises. He said, I'm going to increase the number of women in the police force because domestic violence is a major issue for them in that country. And he did. Didn't provide him any other resources, but he hired him. He made sure that his cabinet was mostly women, and he came true on that. So he was in his own way trying to advocate for women. And so I spoke to the police officers, I spoke to the women who were in politics, I spoke to the women who were journalists, and finally I spoke to the ladies who came from the farms that were in the area. And they moved me around to different cities. In this little town, it was Pico Alto, and they call them cholas. And you see the little hats that they wear, right? And they were so hungry to hear concepts about empowerment and how to build themselves. And these are women that have nothing. I wish that I could show you pictures of the conditions that these women live in, but they were so full of hope. And so one day when I finished, the elder, you can barely see her, but she's down on the bottom right-hand side. And she was the elder of the group, and she came to me and she said, Señora, le vamos a hacer una presentación. We're going to make you a presentation. I said, okay. So she brought over these ladies here. They created a circle, and then they did a blessing. They did a prayer. And then they put that shawl on me. And the shawl has a lot of little sequins on it. And then she says to me, dígale, señora, a las mujeres de los Estados Unidos que brillan como estas estrellas. Y como va la mujer en los Estados Unidos, va la mujer del mundo. I'm going to repeat it in English. They said to me, they wrapped me in this shawl with so much love, and it had little sequins in it. And they said, the women of the United States are like the stars in this shawl. They shine for all of us. Tell the women in the United States that how they go, the rest of us in this world go. It still gives me goosebumps. Does it give you goosebumps? There's women around the world that look to you and look to you and look to you to be empowered, to use your voice, to use your talents, to not forget that we're part of a global world where we need each other. And so when I ask you to write a mission statement, it's not just for you. It's because you elevate the rest of the women in this world. When I ask you to be filled with confidence, it's not just for you. You do it for the kids in your family, your own grandchildren, the people that you work with, because it's contagious. And what this world needs are people, women and men that are on fire with purpose, because our world is very, very sick. We need each and every single one of us to step up and do it as best as we can. So I bring you this message for the women of Bolivia, because when you empower yourself, you're not just empowering yourself, you're empowering other women. Because the reminder today is that you are bold and you are brave, and you are radiant. So today I want you to walk away feeling that boldness, feeling that braveness, and feeling that radiance. And that's my intention for you today. Will you come with me on that journey? Yeah? So our speakers are going to do that for you. Our speakers are going to give you different topics. And if you're not, I don't want you to walk out of here going, oh, okay, well, that was all right. I want you to walk out of here kicking butt, right? Thinking about, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? Let me make sure that I got some. I don't have time to do the whole presentation, but I want to make sure that I have some time here. Let's see. All right. So empowered women know what it is, and they know how to sustain it. And so one of the things I like to talk about, that's me when I wake up, although I don't use the rollers anymore. I think Joanne mentioned it. And I want you to hear, I have met some very, very powerful women around the world, around this country. And every single one of them do exactly what my mommy told me when I was younger. She says, mijita, todos nos bajamos los calzones igual. We all take down our underwear the same way. What does that mean? Just because you're an accomplished woman like Joanne, right, doesn't mean that you haven't suffered, that you don't have days that you look like that. Right? How many of you can relate to that picture? Yeah. And so the reality is that you have to get to a place that says, I've had enough. You know, when I lost my son, there were mornings that I just could not even move, right? And I would cry, and I would cry, and I would cry. And I gave myself permission for a while, and then after a while I would say, okay, ya basta. Yeah, that's enough. How long are you going to sit in your pity party? So you have to choose every single day, which way are you going to go? As my mother would say, ¿vas a hacer pucheros todo el día? How do you say pucheros in English? A pout, okay. Are you going to be pouting all day? Or are you going to put on that can-do attitude? So Joanne talked about having a fight song. I do different things. You know, I don't know that I have a fight song. I'm going to get me one. I love a lot of music, right? But when I'm having a bad day, I bring my mommy or my grandma with me. So for example, today, I'm not having a bad day, but I wanted to bring all the power I could bring. And so I brought my mommy's ring, because we're radiant women, right? So find tools for yourself to help you get out of that. Now, one of the things I tell myself is I do not leave the house until I can answer the following questions. So they are questions that I say to myself, if I cannot answer yes to these questions, then go back in the house and figure it out. Now, some days I cannot answer yes to some of these questions, and then I know I've got work to do. So let's take a look at these 5 questions here. Okay, so the first question is, let's see if you can say, my life feels like a great adventure. How many of you would like it to be a great adventure? All right, here's the second question. I get excited when it's time to go to work. All right, so I'm curious. Are we laughing at the idea that you could be excited to go to work? So, do you get up in the morning, the alarm goes off, and you jump out of bed? All right, there we go. So ladies, if you cannot answer yes to this question, then we need to talk. Okay. If you cannot answer yes to this question, we need to talk. Because there's only one life. There's only one life. And it goes faster than you think. It goes faster than you think. You got to make it worth every second. And it only happens if you put work into it, to figure yourself out, to understand, to pray, to know. So let me share a little bit more, see that we can help you with this. Okay, question number 3. I am happy with all aspects of my life. Let me go back over here. So all aspects of my life would be socially, mentally, spiritually, physically. I'm happy with my body. Financially, I'm happy with what's in my bank account. One of the things that I believe in is that women need to have money. How many of you believe that? I think women should be paid what are due, what they're worth. That's right. So this afternoon we have a financial person that's going to help us with some ideas about that. But I believe that we all need to have empowerment and be happy with all these aspects of my life. So there's a lot of women I know that have been really good in their careers, but then their personal life sucks and their health sucks. So no, it's about having that balance with all aspects of our life. All right, number 4 question. I am fascinated by the things I am learning. So if you feel like you're not learning anything, that tells you something. You can't have excitement, you can't have joy, you can't have that radiance unless you're learning something, because that's the way God created us. Every single entity, human being, animal, plant, etc., is in the process of what? Growing and learning. And if we're not, then we're decaying and we're dying. So if you don't have something in your life right now that you enjoy learning, that's a good thing to put in right away. And last but not least, I am capable of experiencing intense physical pleasure. And you know what I'm talking about. Yes, that's right. So before you go down that track, so what this question talks about is, are you using all your senses to experience the world? Can I see? Can I hear? Can I smell? Can I touch? Right? This morning when I was driving with my husband, and he's driving me crazy with the way he drives, and I turned and looked at him, and he doesn't even know that this happened. But I saw him in his nice blue shirt, and I could smell his cologne. I could feel the energy in his body because he's excited about the day. He loves coming to these events. I tell you, he's a flirt, so be careful. So living life, taking it all with your senses, with all your senses. So for example, one of my things that I love to do when we have good weather is we have hummingbird feeders in the backyard. We live in the Upper Valley and we have a lot of hummingbirds that my wonderful husband feeds. He gets all the feeders, cleans them up, feeds the birds, etc. So when I go out in the morning to do my prayers, I have these hummingbirds. And when you are alive, you can feel the wings of the hummingbird. You can see how they're feeding. You can see the colors. You can feel their wings. You can smell a newborn baby. You can take in information through your senses. That's what this is talking about. And it is talking about living in a sensuous way. Excuse me. It's about living life with that fullness. All right. So write them down or take a picture, because you can't leave the house until you have been able to say yes. Baby, I need some water. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, thank you. I got one, babe. Thank you. So when I started training myself on these questions many years ago, I typed them up and I put them on my mirror, first thing in the morning. So as I'm brushing my teeth and doing my hair, I'm reading the questions, and I make sure that I can say yes. And if I cannot say yes, then it tells me I need to do some work. Doesn't mean that you have to be like this every single day. It just means to be aware. All right. Excuse me. All right, we did that one. Let me see how we do it on time. Let me get to one question here. Okay, we don't have time, I don't think. Okay, so let me share this story, and then we're going to wrap up because we need to take a break, and then our morning speaker will start as well. So, I am a simple girl from Isleta. I'm from el barrio de los indios. We didn't talk about purpose, honey. It was just survival. I got married when I was 16 years old, right out of high school. And I didn't have to get married. I didn't have a baby till I was 18. Married an abusive guy, not this guy, but husband number one. And 7 years later, with 2 children, at the age of 23, I'm single and I have to support 2 kids. It was about survival. He was physically abusive and verbally abusive and financially wasn't there as a man, as a father. Anybody know any of those guys? I think he's got a lot of relatives sometimes. So it was about survival. I got married the second time. Same guy. Same kind of guy. Not the same guy, same kind of guy. Verbally abusive. He wasn't physically abusive, but he was, the first one left me for a school teacher. We have any school teachers in the audience? And the second one did too. So I had to do a lot of work around releasing anger towards school teachers. So I was single for a long time. Made myself very focused on financial security because I had to take care of these 2 kids. So then I meet this wonderful guy, husband number 3, 36 years later. Okay? So we get married, we have a baby, he adopts my first 2 kids, I moved to the Upper Valley, as my mother would say, ya estás viviendo allá con las ricachonas. You're up there in the Upper Valley with all those people, right? And one morning I woke up and I thought, okay, I got everything I said I wanted. I had my business. I sold insurance at the time. I have a great guy. I have a nice house. I have my children are healthy and happy. And I have had the practice of praying every day. And one day in my prayers, I got the idea, now what? Now what? And I realized that I needed to give back. And that's when I started to try to understand purpose and mission and what am I here for. And I would read books and I would read different things, and I went to a conference in 1989, the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas in Laredo. And I'll never forget that experience because it was, have you ever gone to a place where you feel like there's angels surrounding you? Like there's just something special vibrating in that room. So I was in a little workshop and there was a lady in the room. She had all these questions about what do you want to do with your life? So she asked 2 questions that I'm going to ask you to think about today. Number 1 is, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Because in that fear, when you start moving it around, you start to find some little pearls to work with. So I'm going to give you this question, and then I'm going to ask you to share the answer with somebody at your table. So here's the question. This is the question that changed my life. the presenter that day said, if I could give you a magic pill, and with this magic pill, you could realize your greatest dream and ambition. Failure is not an option. Success is guaranteed. What would you do and what would you be? I'm going to repeat that again. If I could give you a magic pill, and with this magic pill, you can realize your greatest dream or ambition. You know you cannot fail. Failure is not an option. Success is guaranteed. What would you do? What would you be? Now, I want you to be as outrageous and as crazy and as out of the box as you can be, because you're going to share this with somebody at your table right now. Go for it. All right, come on back. Come on back. Wrap up your conversation. Come on back. How many of you got a taste of a little bit of out there thinking? How many of you were bold and stretched yourself? So my hope is that you will be inspired today to live bold and to live courageously and to commit yourself to a life of radiance. So that day when I heard this presenter ask that question, and of course we had more time, but I thought about it for not too long, because I had been praying to know, what do you want me to do, God? People often ask me, is it that easy? Yes, just pray to know. Just pray to know, and you will know. And that day, I got the answer that looked like this. If I could have a magic pill, and I could do anything and success was guaranteed, I would go to conferences around the world, and I would learn ideas and concepts and bring them back to my friends in El Paso and share them so that women can be empowered. That's all I said. I love going to conferences like this and learning and hearing what other women experience, right? And I love hearing ideas and coming back and putting them into use in my own life, but also sharing them. And guess what? I made a career out of it. And thank you, God, it's been a very blessed career. I've traveled the world doing this work. And so when I tell you that all you need to do is ask to know, that's number one. And then number two, you got to do your part, which is you have to accept what God tells you. Because I kind of fought it for a little bit. I told God, you've got the wrong girl. But then things kept happening for me that kept showing me that this was the road. So as we go into break, I created this prayer, this affirmation, if you will, that I'd like for you to use. That would make me a very happy lady, to know that you walk away and that we're all in this community are saying this prayer about ourselves, but about each other. And it's on the monitors. And it goes like this. I am a woman emerging, claiming my radiance, and boldly stepping forward to deliver my value, my passion, and my genius. My presence is dynamic, and I am an extraordinary leader committed to conscious transformation and purpose-filled living. So why don't we say that all together? Are you ready? All right, here we go. I am a woman emerging. Isn't that wonderful? It makes me, I love that prayer. And when I say it, I think of my husband too, because I want him to be fully radiant. I want everyone to be radiant, right? So today, our speakers are about helping you claim your brilliance and your genius. And I think they're here. I don't know. Alyssa, are my two afternoon speakers here? Who do I have? Oh, there's Juana Bordas, Dr. Bordas. Yay! All right. She'll be on at 11 o'clock. And then is Laura Jack here? She's outside. There's a speaker's table where they have their books. And Erica Marin is also here. She'll be talking to us about our financial empowerment. So we have a full day of information and presentation. And I thank you so much. As we take our first break, we're going to start back promptly at 11 o'clock. So let's go. Thank you so much.